In this module, we will be trying to learn about the socio-emotional determinants of human development, learn how cognitive development is influenced by socio-emotional factors, evaluate the various models of temperament, analyze the impact of attachment on development, identify how socioeconomic status is linked with development. We all know development is defined as the pattern of movement or change that begins at conception and continues through lifespan. The pattern of movement is complex because it is the product of biological, cognitive and socio-emotional processes. Biological, cognitive and socio-emotional processes are inextricably tangled. For example, consider a baby smiling in response to his mother's touch. This response depends on biological processes, the physical nature of touch and responsiveness to it, cognitive processes, that is being able to understand intentional acts, and socio-emotional processes, that is the act of smiling often reflects a positive emotional feeling, and smiling helps to connect us in positive ways with other human beings. Biological processes involve changes in the individual's physical nature, genes inherited from parents, the development of the brain, height, weight gains, changes in motor skills, the hormonal changes of puberty, and cardiovascular decline all are a sign of the role of biological processes in the development. Cognitive processes involve changes in the individual's thought, intelligence, and language. Likewise, socio-emotional processes involve changes in individuals' relationships with other people, changes in emotions, and changes in personality. An infant smile in response to her mother's touch, a young boy's aggressive attack on a playmate, a girl's development of assertiveness, an adolescent's joy at the senior prom, and the affection of an elderly couple all reflect the role of socio-emotional processes in development. There are considerable individual differences in children's early dispositional characteristics, such as how they react to challenging situations and their ability to regulate behavioral and emotional reactions. These early characteristics serve as a basis for socio-emotional development in childhood and adolescence. It has been found that early dispositional characteristics and socio-emotional functioning have an extensive and prolonged impact on social, school, and psychological adjustment. In most societies, for instance, positive emotionality and sociability are predictive of peer acceptance, school achievement, and psychological well-being, whereas defiance and aggression are coupled with later peer rejection, school problems, and other adjustment problems. Finally, social anxiety and behavioral inhibition in infancy and early childhood may contribute to difficulties in peer relationships and adjustment problems of an internalizing nature, such as loneliness, depression. The individual continually responds to and acts on contexts which include a person's biological makeup, physical environment, cognitive processes, historical context, social context, and cultural context. In the contextual view, individuals are thought of as changing beings in a changing world. Now we'll talk about socio-emotional factors and the impact it has on cognitive development. Developmental psychologists world over have demonstrated that integrating the study of social and emotional context with cognitive development is both possible and fruitful, and that it can be done within a Piagetian framework. According to Fisher's skill theory, emotions are generated in human beings through the appraisal of events in relation to specific goals. These emotions then generate actions and action tendencies that are appropriate both to our particular cultural models and to our personal histories or scripts. And as children develop, this constant interplay between their cognitive and emotional functions gives rise to increases in their abilities to reflect on and understand their emotions, consider others' perspectives, and inhibit or plan their actions. Fisher's research on children's development has shown that a child's performance level on a given cognitive task will vary according to the level of social support he or she is accorded. Adults may serve as models or may provide memory prompts, and this helps children to perform at their optimal level. But without this support, they may perform only at their functional level and show no evidence of competence at the higher level. Thus, to avoid misdiagnosis, assessments aimed at measuring children's highest cognitive ability level should include high support conditions. In the domain of learning and cognitive development, neo-Piagetian scholars like Verba and Vinnie Carmen have examined children's performance on problem-solving tasks, both alone and in cooperative contexts, to assess the effects of social interaction on cognitive performance. These researchers find that individual performance level is influenced by the particular dynamic of the diet, which in turn is shaped by factors such as the individual status within the relationship diet, such as the mother-child diet, self-reported feelings of self-efficiency, and degree of sociability. Now we come to temperament and development. Temperament refers to early appearing stable and individual differences in reactivity and self-regulation, wherein reactivity refers to variation in quickness and intensity of emotional arousal, attention and motor action. Self-regulation refers to the strategies we use to modify our reactivity. Temperament lays the foundation of adult personality. Research has shown that temperament increases a child's chances of experiencing psychological problems, or alternatively, may protect a child from the negative effects of stressful home life. However, it has also been shown that parenting practices can modify children's temperaments considerably. Now let's look at the dimensions of temperament. On the basis of temperament, children have been broadly classified into three types by Thomas and Chess. One is the easy child. The one who quickly establishes regular routines in infancy, is generally cheerful and adapts easily to new experiences. The difficult child has irregular daily routines, is slow to accept new experiences, and tends to react negatively and intensely. The slow to warm up child is generally inactive, shows mild, low-key reactions to environmental stimuli, is negative in mood, and adjust slowly to new experiences. Some children do not fit into any of the above three classifications. Rather, they present unique blends of temperamental characteristics. Research has shown that the difficult children are at higher risk for adjustment problems, both anxious withdrawal and aggressive behavior in early and middle childhood. On the contrary, slow to warm up children present fewer problems in early years. However, they tend to show excessive fearfulness and slow, constricted behavior in the late preschool and school years, when they are expected to respond actively and quickly in classrooms and peer groups. According to Rothbard, individuals differ not only in their reactivity on each dimension, but also in their effortful capacity to manage that reactivity. Another way of classifying temperament is based on the differences between a shy, subdued, timid child and a sociable, extroverted, bold child. Kagan regards shyness with strangers as one feature of a broad temperament category called inhibition to the unfamiliarity. Inhibited children react to many aspects of unfamiliarity with initial avoidance, distress, or subdued affect, beginning about 7 to 9 months of age. He found that inhibition shows considerable stability from infancy through early childhood. One study classified toddlers into extremely inhibited, extremely uninhibited, and intermediate groups. Follow-up assessments occurred at 4 and 7 years of age. Continuity was demonstrated for both inhibition and lack of inhibition, although a substantial number of the inhibited children moved into the intermediate groups at 7 years of age. An important point about temperament classifications such as Chess and Thomas's and Rothbard and Bates is that children should not be labeled as having only one temperament dimension, such as difficult or negative affectivity. Rather, it is advisable to think of a child's temperament along multiple dimensions. For example, a child might be extroverted, show little emotional negativity, and have good self-regulation. Another child might be introverted, show little emotional negativity, and have a low level of self-regulation. The development of temperament capabilities such as effortful control allows individual differences to emerge, etc. For example, although maturation of the brain's prefrontal lobes must occur for any child's attention to improve and the child to achieve effortful control, some children develop effortful control, others do not. And it is these individual differences in children that are at the heart of what temperament is. Now let's look at temperament in the Indian tradition, and these are called ThreeGunas. The concepts of Tridosha and ThreeGuna are central to Ayurvedic practice. These physical and psychological predispositions are present at birth, even beyond it. The Tridosha consists of Vata, Pitta and Kapha and are physical predispositions. Of the ThreeGunas, Rajas and Tamas are the psychological traits that contribute to physical ill health, while Sattva is a predisposition to well-being. An individual is seen as a product of inheritance of various components of the gunas and doshas. These are the endogamous factors, but they interact with various physical and psychological factors in the environment. Kapoor and others examined the construct of temperament in ancient India based on ThreeGuna from the Samkhya tradition. The temperamental profile with 17 items was used to provide a theoretical model based on ancient Indian thought, which consists of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and validate them empirically with the study of normal and disturbed children. Many studies have used Indian model and they have worked on Indian samples. Experience of the author and her colleagues, for example Thomas and Chess and Malhotra and Randhawa, was difficult for Indian mothers to understand. For the sake of scientific parsimony, Western workers have used narrow band of traits, while the Western models include only biological predisposition. The ThreeGuna model includes the biological as well as psychosocial dispositions. The dimensions measured in the ThreeGuna temperament schedule are manageability, trust, dependence, sleep, appetite, activity level, morality, emotionality, sociability and aggression. These dimensions go beyond the Western conceptualization of temperament. Temperament and child rearing. Goodnessoffit. Now, what is Goodnessoffit? It refers to the match between a child's temperament and the environmental demands the child must cope with. It explains why difficult children are at high risk for later adjustment problems. For example, when children are prone to distress as exhibited by frequent crying and irritability, their parents may eventually respond by ignoring the child's distress or trying to force the child to behave. Thus, these children often experience parenting that fits poorly with their dispositions, thereby creating a vicious circle. As research has shown that they are less likely to receive sensitive caregiving, are exposed to punitive discipline, which undermines effortful control. The child reacts with defiance and disobedience, in turn making parents increasingly stressed. This makes the parents continue using their coercive tactics, and this ultimately sustains and even increases the child's irritable, conflict-ridden style. In contrast, when parents are sensitive and positive, they help babies regulate emotion, difficulties decline by age 2 to 3 years. It has been found that support and clear expectations reduce the likelihood that difficultness will persist and lead to emotional and social difficulties. Effective parenting of challenging children depends on life conditions, good parental mental health, marital harmony, and favorable economic conditions. Cultural values also affect the fit between parenting and child temperament. Cultural contexts make a difference in whether shy children receive support or disapproval and whether they adjust well or poorly. An effective match between rearing conditions and child temperament is best accomplished early before unfavorable temperament environment relationships produce maladjustment. Both difficult and shy children benefit from warm, accepting parenting and makes firm but reasonable demands for mastering new experiences. Now we talk about attachment. The social and emotional development of children is said to start when the child is born, and how the child develops these social emotional skills is assumed to affect their adult life. There are several theories on how children develop socially and emotionally, as well as theories on the different ways an adult can be affected by the social and emotional events during their early years. One of the better known theories of this type of development is called Bowlby's attachment theory. Attachment is the strong, affectionate tie we have with special people in our lives that leads us to experience pleasure when we interact with them and to be comforted by their nearness in times of stress. By the second half of the first year, infants have become attached to familiar people who have responded to their needs. Bowlby's attachment theory propounds that the earliest bonds formed by children with their caregivers have a tremendous impact that continues throughout life. He suggested attachment also serves to keep the infant close to the mother, thus improving the child's chances of survival. The central theme of attachment theory is that primary caregivers who are available and responsive to an infant's needs allow the child to develop a sense of security. The infant knows that the caregiver is dependable, which creates a secure base for the child to then explore the world. The attachment relationship is developed in the first few months of life when the infant receives dependable and loving responses from the primary caregiver in response to attachment behaviors such as crying, grasping, moving towards and smiling. Attachment is directly related to how responsive or sensitive the caregiver is to the infant's needs. Bowlby believed that there are four distinguishing characteristics of attachment. First one is proximity maintenance, the desire to be near the people we are attached to. Second is safe haven, returning to the attachment figure for comfort and safety in the face of a fear or threat. Third is secure base. The attachment figure acts as a base of security from which the child can explore the surrounding environment. Fourth is separation distress, anxiety that occurs in the absence of the attachment figures. And on the basis of these, he has given four phases. First phase is from birth to 2 months, and in this, infants instinctively direct their attachment to human figures. Phase 2 is from 2 to 7 months. Attachment becomes focused on one figure, usually the primary caregiver. Third phase is 7 to 24 months. Specific attachments develop. Phase 4 is 24 months on, where children become aware of others' feelings, goals and plans and begin to take these into account in forming their own actions. So in sum, attachment emerges from the social cognitive advances that allow infants to develop expectations for the caregiver's behavior and to determine the affective quality of their relationship. Ainsworth's strange situation has been discussed by Ainsworth, who expanded greatly upon Bowlby's original work. Her groundbreaking strange situation study revealed the profound effects of attachment on behavior. In the study, the researchers observed children between 12 to 18 months as they responded to a situation in which they were briefly left alone and then reunited with their mothers. It was noted that secure attachment in the first year of life provides an important foundation for psychological development later in life. The securely attached infant moves freely away from the mother but keeps track of where she is through periodic glances. An insecurely attached infant avoids the mother or is ambivalent towards her, fears strangers, and is upset by minor everyday separations. Researchers have found that attachment patterns established early in life can lead to a number of outcomes. Relationship and development. The influence of social relationships on human development and behavior is receiving increased attention from psychologists who are central contributors to the rapidly developing multidisciplinary field of relationship science. Humans do not respond to the same stimuli in the same way across relationship contexts. Indeed, the meaning of stimuli to the individual may change dramatically with changes in relationship context. Thus, to predict and understand behavior, it is necessary to appreciate and understand the relationship context in which individual is embedded. In addition, because relationship experiences often change, the individual's mental, physical and spiritual properties, relationships influence his or her developmental course. This suggests that a key sign of the importance of early relationships is that infants reliably turn to caregivers for reassurance and confidence in the face of threatening or stressful circumstances. This is a phenomenon known as the secure base. Bhatia reported that healthy family relationship greatly influences emotional intelligence of the adolescents. Family is the environment where the children learned to use their faculties and understand and cope with the physical world. It is a time when they don't bother with trivial things, such as the family relationship, because they know they are the kingpin of their family. It is the place where they learn how family relationships work by observing their parents, grandparents, siblings, and rest of the family members dealing with each other. They enjoy meeting them on family vacations and family reunions and exchanging gifts with them. A critical mass of research thus shows that these and other such abilities provide an essential infrastructure for many vital activities. Moreover, it is increasingly evident that the development of these abilities depends on the child's early relationships. The socio-economic influence. Conger and Donnellan posited that there exists a positive relationship between socio-economic status and the cognitive, social and emotional and physical well-being of adults and children. They reviewed recent research and identified three general theoretical approaches that provide possible explanations for the association between SES and the individual development. To summarize it, development across the lifespan is the outcome of the entangled biological, cognitive and socio-emotional processes. It has been found that early dispositional characteristics and socio-emotional functioning have an extensive and prolonged impact on social, school and psychological adjustment. As children develop, the constant interplay between their cognitive and emotional functions gives rise to increases in their abilities to reflect on and understand their emotions, consider others' perspectives, and inhibit or plan their actions. Temperament refers to early appearing, stable individual differences in reactivity, and self-regulation. Research has shown that temperament increases a child's chances of experiencing psychological problems or alternatively may protect a child from the negative effects of stressful home life. On the basis of temperament, children have been broadly classified into three types by Thomas and Chess: easy child, difficult child and slow to warm up child. Indian view of temperament finds parallels with ThreeGunas system or Ayurveda. The Tridosha consists of Vata, Pitta and Kapha and are physical predispositions. Of the ThreeGunas, Rajas and Tamas are the psychological traits that contribute to physical ill health, while Sattva is predisposition to well-being. The Goodnessoffit model explains how a child's temperament and environment work in tandem to affect later development. Attachment refers to the strong, affectionate tie we feel for special people in our lives. Children who are securely attached as infants tend to develop stronger, self-esteem and better self-reliance as they grow older. Research also suggests that failure to form secure attachments early in life can have a negative impact on behavior in later childhood and throughout the life. Empirical evidence suggests that low SES may have an adverse influence on child development by exacerbating family stresses that reduce the effective functioning of parents. Empirical evidence suggests that high SES may promote successful child development through the many investments that higher SES parents are able to make in their children's well-being. Empirical evidence suggests that the earlier attributes of individuals may play a crucial role in their eventual social and economic successes and failures. Future research on SES and human development would benefit by testing predictions from the interactionist perspective both within and across generations in the same families.